be up for about 30 days, I believe. Twitter keeps it up after we host it live, and so people can listen. I think the last one we did, we probably got 30, 40 listens afterwards, which is great. I don't think, sometimes it does feel like you're shouting into the ether, shouting against a strong wind blowing against your voice, but that's okay. I think the part of this that is exciting for coaches that are listening now, using Twitter Space, the functionality of it, I think it's a great platform. Participation in this can be purely auditory with no expectation of vocal join in. But as long as you have your phone and earbuds, you're free to move about your day for the next 45 minutes or so. If you do want to comment, you can text in, emoji in, or raise your hand, and me, the host, I can allow you to step up and speak. But my staff and I at Willamette University men's basketball, we've been exploring using it with recruits as well, opening it up to parents, opening up to alumni. It's a new version. I know it's probably been around a year or so now, but as I've gotten into it with teams of men, it's been a fun way and a new way to try to reach folks and share space, which is what today's all about as well. Introduction, Kip Ione, head coach, Willamette University men's basketball. I'm participating in this space as a listener and a sharer of experience, but I'm hosting it as the founder of Teams of Men. My company that exists to help coaches and players across the country create, execute, and assess programming that drives a healthier manhood. I feel like the Teams of Men account was a more appropriate host for today's topic for this space, because I believe a healthier manhood is full of compassion, empathy, and connection. In my opinion, as coaches, we too often set sail alone in trying to solve the issues facing our programs and players, and we adopt the mindset, my team, my problem, my job to fix it solo. Then we trudge forward by ourselves and often end up in the wilderness alone. And I think that's not just a coach's issue, but it's very much a masculinity, identity, grit your teeth and solve it issue that I think we can all be better at. Certainly there's some valiance and some credit assigned with approaching it and bearing down and trying to do the work and solve the problems. But ultimately, like men in general, we fail to realize that we can be better. We can be better and achieve better together than we can do either of those things alone. So excited to be here and sharing this for no matter when people, whether there's live or later on in the day, for people to join in with us. Goals for the space today, and I really did title it Resilient Reflective Release on purpose, because I didn't want it when I was thinking to myself, hey, you know what I had never seen before is a clinic / conference forum for coaches whose seasons went south, for coaches who see the seasons were quote unquote failures in the win-loss column or came up short of the expectations you and your players set. I thought about it. I didn't want to call the damn thing #lovable losers or something like that, but I thought about myself having experienced it many times in my coaching career, coming up short of expectation. I thought resilient reflective release was accurate because I do think it requires resilience to survive seasons that don't go the way you want them to. I do think in trying to prevent it from happening again, you have to develop reflection. You have to flex your reflective muscle. And I do think there's a large amount of release that we have to get to as coaches and players in the program that experience the losing. We do have to let it go at some point. And I know that's hard to do. I think one of the years that we finished last, unfortunately, with Bearcat Hoop, and I'm speaking to you as Kip Ione now, the head men's basketball coach at Willamette University, one of the years, 5-6 years ago, that we finished last, I told people, you know what the record in a losing season means? The number of wins in the front column is about how many seconds in each part of your day, every 6 seconds or every 4 seconds or every 1 second, one of our really poor seasons, you think about the damn thing. I think maybe coaches in general, I'm not saying coaches that experience winning seasons at a high level never, can walk away and go days without thinking about their program or their team. But I think a 25-win season gives you at least 25 seconds between those thoughts. When you're in the single digits, unfortunately, I think it is every 4 seconds that you think about the damn thing. So for everybody participating and listening in the recording, I really want today to feel like you have a community to vent frustrations and vulnerability without fear of being isolated or judged. Part of this was birthed, and I don't know how many of you attended the NABC convention in New Orleans. It was awesome. New Orleans is a great location. The NABC convention itself is one of the major points where all of us are in a spot together. And I'm speaking to basketball coaches now. But over the years, I think I've been to 9 now. One of the things that's always stuck out to me, and it happened again today, especially in that lobby, right outside the entrance to the actual convention itself, witnessing guys introduce each other via win-loss record. Like literally guys walking in and saying, "Hey, man, hey, coach, 26-5. Hey, coach, 18-12, still grinding." Like literally people not using each other's names, or even our, the vernacular we all adopt if we don't remember each other's when we say coach. But people leading into conversations with their win-loss record. And while I'm, exceptionally disappointed in that for our profession, I also knowing that was going to happen, I was rehearsing my cliches that I was going to use to explain away my failed season. So I wasn't about to say our record in response to somebody asking me, when they let it, "Hey, coach, 19-9. I wasn't about to lead back with, "Hey, 6-18. I was going to use, "Hey, we took a step forward, wanted to take 5. Hey, the kids really busted their ass," which they did. But we got to be better. Hey, the buck stops with me. All the things that we say with each other, I don't think it really allows us at any real point in time to share and process and get through feelings of despair, get through feelings of frustration, get through feelings of failure. So I was hoping this space, and if we can continue to do it monthly, let's say, can be an avenue for that. I do think as men and as coaches, we need to talk open and honestly about our feelings. I think you need to do that with your staff. You need to be open and honest with your players, your administration, your alumni, your recruits, hell, with yourself. When you think about all the times you spend talking in full spin or false positivity mode. I'm not saying you should walk around with, the proverbial rain cloud thunderstorm over top of your head. But I do think we all slip into, whether it's because we're performing for each other, performing for ourselves, or performing for the people in the room, we slip into this false, bravado's the wrong word. It's a false positivity that if I just stay positive and smile, there's a great book out, and I'll share it in the link after the space, that it talks about both. There is a happiness advantage. Sean Akers talks about the happiness advantage, but there's also another book, and I'll share the doctor's name. She was on the Brene Brown show, and she talked about there's a level of toxic positivity where you're really ignoring the world as it is. And if you're not living in the world as it is, you can't really find real world solutions. And I think we can do that sometimes if we've experienced losing in a season. So I wanted to be able to come here and be open and honest about our feelings to avoid some of that. I think improving skills to cope with losing. And what I mean, I don't think accepting is ever going to be what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to accept any of that. But I think sharing with each other methods we use to stay sane, to maintain our health during a season that was most likely assaulting our body physically, mentally, emotionally. I think that's important. Learning about resources to use, whether that be now in the off season and season next year, and regardless of win-loss record, I think that's vital too. And I think hopefully as we continue to do these, whatever the frequency is, reigniting belief in your ability as a coach and hope in your program's future. I think that's vital. Like I said, as someone who has survived some losing seasons, reigniting your belief in your ability as a coach is infectious. You have to do that with your players. And I'm sure you're spending a lot of time with your assistants and your support staff trying to build back up the belief in your players. But you need that too. You're a human being, coach. I know we got to put on the polo and the practice pants and go out there and pretend that we have all the answers. Sometimes it's okay that we don't, but we got to go back to our belief that we can find them. And we got to find ways to help each other believe we can get this job done. And so that's hopefully what the space is for today. Let me pause there for a second. If anybody has anything to share or add into the space right now as we go. All right. Now, I think I'm putting on my Kip hat again. So this is Kip I own, 12th season, just finished up my 12th season. Head men's basketball coach, Willamette University out here in Salem, Oregon. Our season this year, I'm going to share, I'm going to model vulnerability for everyone. Because I think sometimes we do try to hide. We'd love to talk about our conference championships, our players of the year, all the good things. Very rarely do we talk in honest terms about the seasons that were failures in terms of win-loss record. This past season for myself and my Bearcat Hoop program and our 18 players, my season was one where I convinced myself that we were going to take a giant step forward. In the 2019-20 season, way back, seems like ancient history. The season before COVID hit. We were 1-24. And then in the spring of the next year, their next season, 2020 and 2021, we got our season canceled, reignited late in the spring. We got to play 4 games during the first year of the pandemic. So we had gone a lot of days between winning basketball. We had sat on a really poor season for almost 2 years before we got to actually play this year. And we started off, we won 3 games in conference, swept a weekend. Then we won a conference game early on the road in a place we hadn't won in a decade. We got the rookie of the year and a first team all-league freshman on our team. And right around January, if you'd have texted me or called me, I'd have told you we were right there on the verge of a breakout. In our conference, you got to get in the top 4 to make the conference tournament, to be a semifinalist. And we haven't done that since 2015. I was like, man, this could be the group that does it. And then just like that, it didn't happen. We went 6-19, 3-13 in the league. And I know February was hard for myself, for my staff, for my kids, for my players, for my family. It was hard, man. I'll die on the hill, but the program worked hard. Players through coaches. I don't subscribe to the cliches and the beliefs that we didn't succeed because the other team wanted it more. If you don't follow them already, Essential Coaching, Kyle Kavanaugh, Sean Rastogi do a great job of breaking down this silly thought that we lost that game because at one timeout the other coach decided to press the scream louder want button, and their kids came out and played harder, and that was always our failure. I don't believe in that. I think our kids busted their ass. I know my staff worked hard. I know I worked hard, man. We went 6-19. I'll die on the hill that we created a climate that guys enjoyed, and we enjoyed them. I think coming to work every day, I will say, was fun. I think in our business, all you can do is take anecdotal remarks and experiences with the kids and those damn surveys that all of us at the smaller levels hate. Maybe high school coaches go through the surveys, athletic directors fill out. But ours are positive. For the season we had, our kids enjoyed the time with the program. They hated the losing. They enjoyed the time. So I think the climate was right. I think anytime there are tears in the locker room after your last game in a losing season, something has to be moving enough for them to feel the way they felt at the end to cry, rather than the release feeling, which I've had before in seasons we didn't succeed, where everyone, from myself through the last player, was like, shit, this season's finally over, thank God. Our last game was probably one of our better games we've played, battled our ass off against our school's rival. They clinched the conference championship by beating us, but we fought, man. It was a great, high-scoring, impactful game. And there was tears in the locker room afterwards. And I always take that as a positive for the most part, because kids give a damn. We didn't lose our give a damn. We didn't lose our fight for each other. But those passions of belief are also clouded by, the skepticism I'm holding in myself. And maybe some of you feel similar. Maybe some of you have been through these next couple things that you hear in your brain during seasons of losing, at the end of seasons of losing. How could you have the type of player, Kip, that you had? And we had the freshman of the year who's actually moving up through the transfer portal, getting a D1 full ride. That's a whole nother Twitter space, and I'm sure there's lots of spaces about the portal. But how could you have that quality of player who went 20-12 and was just, clearly above most of the athletic and talent in our league and performed to it? How could you have that player not win, man? I'm looking in the mirror. Every time I look at myself in the mirror, get out of the shower, I think that. How the hell did this happen? Maybe some of you are experiencing that as well. How could you not find a scheme fix to the defense? We lost 6 games this year where we scored over 90 points. We led the conference in scoring. We were top 30 offense in America. We couldn't win games. We could score. I could not find a fix to the defense. And I refuse to be the coach that says, oh, my guys aren't good enough. It's me. I couldn't figure out the scheme this year that maximize who they could be as defenders. And that dry every single day. I think about that. Some of you that might not be your defense, might be your offense, might be your special situations. Who knows what it may be, but it's nagging at you. And I think this one, maybe all of us if it's happened to you a couple times, the losing seasons, how does this keep happening when you yourself, you spent so much energy on change in the leading up in the off season coming into this year? We devoted so much time, energy, and effort as a staff to change in process in certain areas we thought we could be better, to change in scheme that we thought would fit our guys better, to change in our communication approach because we believe in the power of communication with your players. How could this shit keep happening? We did the work. We did the reflection. We changed things. We didn't bury our head in the sand and keep doing things the way we've always done them. Those things are still in my brain. And I wonder how many of you out there are experiencing either some of those three. We had the talent, what happened? We changed, how could I not fix that particular side of the ball? We put in the effort. What's going on? I'll pause there to let people think and reflect. And if they want to share, go ahead and share. I think over the course of the year, we tried to fight the tide, so to speak. But you get inundated from external and internal voices, sources with opposing opinions on how to fix the losing. Right? I know all of you out there have probably heard one version of, hey man, stay the course, dig deep. If you waver in what you're doing, the kids will too. You can't flip flop now. Things will get worse. Believe in what you do. Believe in your foundation. Stay the course. But then you probably also had voices, whether it was yourself, your staff, or others that you trust, telling you, hey, good coaches adjust. Good coaches get data from games and practice and make moves to better fit their kids. Change, man. Change before it's too late. You can get it done this week. Get it done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll be back here Friday. I know that probably took over a lot of your time. Trying to figure out which one of those voices you wanted to champion and listen to. And then maybe it was a little combination of both. It's damn near like the old cartoons. Devil on the shoulder, angel on the other shoulder. And you're trying to figure out who to listen to. And there's probably a little bit of truth in both of them. And then, of course, you're having the debates I'm about to say in your staff meetings. Because you probably got great coaches you trust. You wouldn't have them with you if you didn't. Pre and post practice, you're probably winding up in the morgue-like setting of your office, your staff office, after a loss. You're all kind of staring at each other in silence. Everybody's mad. Everybody's frustrated. You're kind of sitting there waiting for, and I'm lucky I'm the head coach. I usually get to start the conversations rather than waiting for the boss to explode, right? It's usually me. But I'm assuming we can find some community, and we probably all had these things after losses. God damn it. Why didn't Johnny do X, Y, Z? I'm using a generic name. Why didn't he do that? We went over this. We went over the game plan. We went over that set. We went over that play. We went over that scenario. How many times we do that, coach? And you're looking at each other and you're trying to validate each other. You're doing all those things. It's not their fault, but then you kind of sit with it and you go, no, wait. It's not the kid's fault. Sooner or later, we got to stop asking them to do shit they can't do. So then you're going back and forth with each other. It doesn't have to be, I'm sure it wasn't malicious in intent with each other, but you're going back and forth with one another. Damn it. They got to be better. No, we got to be better. We could have done this in practice. We could have changed this. We could have drawn that. That would have been better. Then, somebody's a little bit more silence. Somebody's like, fuck the refs, man. The refs aren't helping us, coach. And you're like, yeah, the refs are fucking killing us, blah, blah, blah. You're going through the stat sheet, flipping through the play-by-play. And then probably a half hour into that, you're kind of sitting around, you're looking, and you're saying to yourself, man, somebody says, you, the head guy, or somebody that, feels like they have enough trust, the head guy trusts them enough to get in and says, guys, they might just be better than us. That other team was just better. And that's probably what you got to say to get through the damn night and leave and go to bed. If you're like us in our league, we play the very next day. We got a double header. So if that's a Friday night loss, you get your ass back there in the morning. And then you start the whole cycle over again. End of the day, guys, coaches, fellow strugglers, it's exhausting. It's okay to say that. It is absolutely exhausting. You know what else it is? It's hollow. God, it's hollow. And it saps your hope for any other possibility of existence. Like, is this, I know I've asked my staff, do other guys get up with hope? Like, well, how does that feel? What does it look like? And this is not, once again, I think I had a good team. I'm talking exciting, exclusively by myself. These are the thoughts that go through my head. So I don't want to frame this as, hey, guys, I've solved this riddle. You can Google me. I haven't solved this riddle. I'm still here, going into my 13th season. I've survived. I think a lot of times in this, if you have a losing season, a losing couple and you're still there, you're still signing up for this, I know I'm privileged. I recognize the luck I have to coach at a university and work for people that have allowed me to fail quickly and try to change and adapt and find success, both later on the court and in other ways. I recognize that. I recognize a lot of my brethren and those of you listening may not have that type of leash. I'm very thankful for that type of leash. In a lot of ways, I'm probably the unicorn of losing in the country. But I don't want to say that I'm going to say tips to reclaim hope. And it's worked for me. That doesn't mean these are the only ways. I mentioned in the lead up to this, I did not want to come in here like the usual coaching clinics we all experience, where they give us sets and plays, because I don't know if it's scheme. I think everybody listening, you're probably really good at X's and O's. I think all of us probably have some aptitude in X's and O's. And if it was just your ball screen defense, you would have figured it out. You work hard enough. Your staff works hard enough. Your kids play hard enough. I don't think it's just the scheme. So I don't think the answer is, as much as I enjoyed a couple of the clinics on court at the NABC convention, I don't think that's the answer. I'll be honest with you. I fought a little bit of imposter syndrome at the clinic. I'm sitting there in this crowd of people, and we're all taking the same notes. And I'm like, that's awesome. I could use that. That's really good. That fits him. And then I'm also like, well, shit. I had the same thought last year. Some of this didn't work. So I fight a little bit. I don't know if you do as well. Feel free to, react on your emojis when you're listening or in your car driving on the recording. Like, I know that's probably come up too. But I also think to myself, all of us that have had a losing season, we go to that convention. It doesn't stop us from going to conventions. It doesn't stop us from going to clinics. You go to the Vegas clinic. I know some of that is for the social enjoyment. Some of us do. You probably do need a beverage or two. But we walk in these circles for these clinics for pick and roll offense or up-tempo offense or defensive situations. And we look around and we feel like we belong there, right? But when was the last time we were in a space like this where we're venting and sharing our failures together? That's probably where we belong first. How do we survive that? How do we get through it? How do we emerge on the other side? In a lot of ways, some of us, and I feel like I'm undaunted. I have these anxieties, these feelings, these struggles, but I'm undaunted. I'm going again. I'm going to sign back up. And one of Doc Rivers' favorite things I heard him saying, I know Doc has a championship. I also know Doc has some playoff failures. But after one of the Clippers failures, he said, I think it was something, I'm going to butcher the quote, but he talked about, I'm willing to give my heart again to this, only to see it crushed. And I am going on 13 years coming up of giving my full self to this, believing it'll be different. And it might not be. I might be setting myself up for more pain. But that's why I created the space, because I think there's people like me out there. And I want to give you, I want to give you some fuel to do it again. I want to refuel your capacity to jump in again. One of the things I think is important is if you're looking at yourself, mindfulness versus self-contempt. I think you got to strike the right balance between, as the leader of this program, if I want my guys to self-reflect and commit to better, I need to be modeling that myself. I think that's good. You should reflect and commit to trying to find better. Yes. But you also can't have self-contempt in your self-dialogue. I don't think it's healthy to be, you idiot. You're playing this shit. You practice this shit. You're not good at this. You suck, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Replay. I think any therapist, and the one I go to is very good, will tell you that self-dialogue can kill you. And you don't want your players thinking that going into a game. And I don't think you can think that. I think you can say, man, I am the person capable of changing myself. That's awesome. Yes, I got to get better. There's things I got to do, but I'm not awful. I'm not terrible. Busted my ass to improve, and lean into the improvement as a strength of yours, that you're willing to do that. I think another couple of things to reclaim your hope. Turn off avenues of comparison. By the way, I'm telling you all this. Once again, Google me. You can see I've had plenty of opportunities and a coaching career of using resilience, using reflection to release failures and come back to take another swing. So that's why I'm not trying to tell you that I've solved it I'm above everyone. I'm not. I'm starting the conversation in this fashion. So hopefully, as we go forward in this, monthly segments, more people feel empowered, feel not alone, feel like they're not the only ones that have been losing. But I think one way to reclaim your hope is to turn off avenues of comparison. You have to do your prep work, obviously. I'm not telling you you go through the day and you don't look at the stats of your squad and you don't do your scout. I'm not saying that. But you don't need to be scanning the leaderboards and the standings from your league and across the country and your division and the sport at all levels and comparing it to what you're doing. You don't need to be on a Tuesday morning looking at the PPE of a team in Division II across the street. You don't need to do that. You got to do your work. But the more you keep looking at, you dive into the NBA, how they're playing, if you have City, you have access to all these numbers, and you sort the leaderboard. And you're either vilifying yourself because you see how low some of your stats are, or you're lying to yourself because you're comparing and saying, well, we're pretty close there. I think you need to trust the process that you guys established, numbers that will lead you to change, numbers that indicate failure internally, but then you don't need to find more. Turn off avenues of comparison. Turn off hot take voices. And I'm a podcast guy, right? I'm basically using a podcast format right now. But in season, I've found I put myself in, you're really shitty at this job. I put myself in that mindset by 9:30 if I drive in listening to Hot Take Basketball Podcast. And I like with Simmons and Rosillo talking hoops. I like the mismatch show. I like basketball discussion, but in season, if I inundate my brain with cliche after cliche about coaches, about seasons, from people that have never done this job, you hear a bunch of simplifications in these rants from people who have never done it, that you start believing some of this shit. You start hearing these people sitting next to you. And it's not their fault. That's their job. You start hearing Colin Cowherd next to you. You start hearing Nick Wright next to you. You start hearing Rosillo and Simmons next to you. It's giving a generalization about what good coaches do to win. And you don't have LeBron James to do that simple thing. You don't have Kevin Durant. You don't have Giannis. But you also, I don't think those coaches, it's as simple as that either. But if you don't turn off these hot take voices, they're going to be with you every single morning on your way to work, and it's going to poison you. You're going to get right back into that self-contempt. I think you got to turn off hot take voices. You can have trusted voices. I mean, you might need to listen to some damn comedy, coach. You might need to listen to a podcast about movies. Go to music. It's okay if you like that in your daily drive or how you go. You can have trusted voices in a circle. I know I have trusted coaches that are friends of mine that we compete against each other, but we also share space with each other digitally, virtually, and on the phone to get through the season. Those are fine, but I don't think you need the hot takes. And then this last one I think is, some of you might be better at this than me, but I really tried to lean into it this year, is talk with your players more. Stop the idea your staff care more than the players do. I don't know, it's an easy one because it makes us feel better. It might be how you get through a day. Like, damn it, I care so much. I'm sure you do. So do they. Become the avenue for your players to vent to you about their frustrations with the losing. Because in helping others, you help yourself. Because in finding community, in common angst, you find strength to persevere together. Now, I'm telling you, this year, I can't tell you how often I thought to myself, I've got so much film to watch. The answer's in the film. The answer's in the study. The answer's in the individual skill work today. And in reality, fellas, I get not sidetracked, but I felt sidetracked in the beginning I had an hour meeting with a player who came to talk to me. I had 30 minutes before practice that I was going to get all this stuff set up, and I ended up talking to a player and walking the court with him. I can't tell you how uplifting it was. I can't tell you how much better I felt after long convos and time with my guys than if I would have just grit my teeth and threw myself into a scout harder, scheme better, plan harder. I don't know if that's always the answer. I know I felt more resilience, I felt more connection, and I was better able to release failures from the weekend if I spent Monday and Tuesday talking to my guys. And I wasn't perfect at it. I could be better at it. But I'd encourage you, like I said before, in finding community, in common angst, you find strength to persevere together. And then honestly, let me give you a last one and I'll let you go because we're coming up on about 35, 36 minutes. In some seasons, honestly, you might not have the horses to change the scoreboard. That might just be the facts. That's not, I don't think we should ever shit on our players and badmouth our players. Some seasons you just don't have enough to get to the level you thought. That's okay. But we do have we have the ability, especially if you're the head coach, to change the day-to-day experience of our guys, to change our day-to-day experience rather than a constant feeling of coming up short, a constant feeling of being let down. It's engaging and being in the moment together in fun, in positivity. And I'm going to give you one thing in this first one. Like, we did this year, and I wish I could shout out all the accounts online. I think you should follow Brian McCormick for some of this. There's some TikTok, real agility training stuff. But we changed our Mondays I tried to create a version of a competition that incorporated points. So I think they don't want to feel like you're quitting on them without scoreboards and expectations. But I tried to build an agility tag competition of some kind every single week. So that's probably 19 versions of tag, keep away, stuff that seems simplistic, but it harkens back to when they were kids, and running and playing physical activity was fun. Yeah, we kept score. And yeah, I think real agility, right, requires the stimulus of other human beings and bodies. It wasn't cone drills. There's a lot of tag, a lot of sprint chasing, a lot of keep away. But I tell you what, it launched our week. We were always in a good mood Mondays going into that first day of practice, rather than if we were coming off a loss. I got to give my guys a lot of credit for buying into that, but I give my staff a lot of credit for making sure we continue to do it. But it allowed us to come back to work, to go step back into the arena where we had failed, to pick ourselves up off the ground and go at it again. And that's what I want this space to be for everybody. So, I'll post the recording for everyone. Feel free, DM me at Kip Ione if you want to talk to the coach, at Teams_men if you want to talk to me as the person that's with everybody trying to journey towards a healthier manhood. And I think having a space like this and expressing feelings and emotions is important. But I hope to bring somebody else next week as well. Next month, I'll put the invite out there again. But, if nothing else, you got to remember, as a man, you are better able to find solutions to your issues. I know we're problem-solving based as men. You can do that better together than you can do alone.